What is going on, everybody? My name is Cookie6. Welcome along back to another Football Manager tutorial / guide / tips and tricks video. And today we're going to keep this one sort of short and we're going to talk about mentoring. Now, obviously, mentoring is a new thing in Football Manager this year. It's taken over from the tutoring thing you used to have, where it used to be 2 players involved. You'd have a senior player and a younger player, and the younger player would obviously learn from the senior player, pick up some of his personal traits maybe, or pick up some of his personality. So that's been taken over this year. You can add multiple people into a mentoring group. Now, the key for this sort of thing is you want to have a player here who's like a very good personality that people can learn from. So it's dead simple. So one of the starting things we're going to do, we're just going to delete my things here so we can set them all up for the purpose of this once again. So you met with this screen, mentoring. You want to add a group, dead simple. We'll just add the group number 1. And then from there, you add player just over on this right hand side. So from here, this is where you get to see a list of your first team squad. You will only see first team players in here. You won't see under 18s or reserves. You have to manually add those into your first team squad. So if I wanted an under 18s player, I'd come over here, I'd select it on reports, one of my better players. So I'd have someone like John Gallagher. I'd move him over to the first team squad. Before you actually go back to the mentoring thing, skip it on a little bit before you can then go and check, because if you go and try and do it now, you'll be like, well, where the fuck is John Gallagher? Because he is not there. So you've got to go find John Gallagher again by just continuing forward, and then once you've done that, you'll be able to see him in your mentoring squad. So if we do it by the age once again, there he is, John Gallagher, the unambitious person. Now you're probably thinking, John Gallagher is 17 years old, he should be playing under 18s football and probably not training with the first team squad. And you're probably right. So I'd only suggest someone who is probably good enough to be in your first team squad. So someone like John Gallagher, probably not right now, but because his personality is unambitious for purposes of this, I am going to put him in there for you. But from there, if you want him to play the different levels of football, just go on his development here and select what you want him to play, and you can play for him there for you. So let's go back over to the mentoring thing here and set up a new group. So obviously we've got group 1 here, and now from mentoring here, much like on the old Football Managers where you've got tutoring, you want some of your best personalities to shine through. So stuff like low determination, you don't want that. Unambitious, you don't want that. You don't want your squad moulded on these sorts of players. If you flip it around, you want born leaders, you want driven personalities, you want determined players to rub off on these players here. So for someone like Celtic, you've got Scott Brown, who is probably one of the best personalities you can have on this game. A born leader. Let's take a look at Scott Brown. We're a few years on into my save, so obviously forget his physicals, they are shit. Determination, 20. Leadership, 20. You can't ask for a better player to have people learn from than Scott Brown. And obviously his teamwork there, 19 as well, work, just everything about him is so good to have for young players. So what we're going to do, we're going to add Scott Brown into our group here. Just click his name, add the player, and he's in the group. Now you can see here we've got hierarchy, social groups, his age, his personality, his estimated influence on the group. You also have to have 3 players in your mentoring group. That is, you can't have less than that for it to work. You need to have more than 3 or 3 or more. So we're going to start with Scott Brown. He's a team leader, obviously the club captain, so a person that everyone's going to look up to. Now social groups, for me it doesn't really matter in this too much. Same with the age, we'll get to that in a minute. So what I want to pair people up with here is people that I may think that have a good future at the club. So if we stick it onto the younger ages again, obviously players of the future, we've got someone here, Ali Turner, low determination, 15 years old. Will he learn from someone like Scott Brown? Let's go and click on him. He's a fantastic young player. He will definitely learn from someone like Scott Brown. So what we're going to do, we'll add him to the group here. Just click on him, add the player, and you can see now, if you go into this in mentoring group 1, the estimated influence on the group. So you can see Scott Brown is a significant influence on this group, and Ali Turner, the 15-year-old, in the hierarchy, other players, he's a very light influence on the group. So basically what you want to do with this is make sure in any group you have, the player that you want people to learn from has got the significant influence on the group, or else it could go the other way. So let's go back into this again. Let's add one more player in, another young player, John Gallagher. He's unambitious. Let's get him in. So you can see here 3 players. This group is now active. and you've got one team leader and 2 other players. So obviously 2 low down on the food chain and 1 at the top. And you can see here a significant influence on the group from Scott Brown, Ali Turner and John Gallagher, both a light influence. They're going to be learning from the best. So these attributes that you want these 2 players to go up with. So you've got here determination 5 for John Gallagher. That's going to go flying up when he's learning from Scott Brown. Some of these other mental stats as well will be picked up too. Same with Ali Turner. His determination is only 5, so that's going to go up as well. But it can cause stuff like looks for pass rather than attempting to score. That might transfer over as well, and something like argue with officials might transfer over to Ali Turner as well, which could be beneficial. It couldn't be beneficial. You just have to wait and see how it pans out. Now that is my mentoring group 1 sorted out. This is really all you want to be looking for. Now, age can play a little bit of a factor. The hierarchy will definitely play a factor. So obviously, if you've got a team leader here who's got low determination, and you've got another player here with a born leader reputation, that's going to go the other way. You don't want that to happen. So let us set up another group here. Group number 2. If we move like a few players into this now, let's just pick a few players. So 16 years old. Just some of the younger players here you can see. So someone like Andrew Kerr, one of my strikers, we can put him in. And if we get a good personality to go in with him as well. So it doesn't really matter on the age. It really matters on the hierarchy of the player and their sort of personality to go with it. So obviously we've got someone like Kieran Tierney, who's a vice captain at my club, as well as Christoph Ayer's got good leadership capabilities again. And as you can see, because the hierarchy of the 2 players here, you can also see Andrew Kerr, who's another player. He's a balanced personality. He's going to have a light influence on this group. And you can see Andrew Kerr is going to learn so much from Christoph Ayer and Kieran Tierney. So that's the sort of thing you want to be looking for. You don't want to look for something else where you're going to have negative players having an influence on the group. So if we set up that group once more, let's go over to this, add the players in once again. So if we have some bad personalities in here, we've pretty much ousted all of them, to be fair. So we're just going to stick with the balanced players. So obviously if you have someone like Jake Cooper, who's going to be a highly influential player at my team because he's so good, and then we stick in Andrew Kerr as well because he's not as much of a balanced, he's not as much of a highly influential player. Same with Sean Connery because he's a youth player. You can see here, Jake Cooper, he's going to just have the more influential influence for them because of his hierarchy in the squad. So now, if he had a negative personality there, he would dominate this group with the average influence, and people like Andrew Kerr and Sean Connolly would follow Jake Cooper's influence, and it would cause a negative effect. Now, obviously, I don't have the player to show you, but if it was low determination here, these 2 would lose determination and follow Jake Cooper's role. So you don't want that to happen. Just make sure when you're picking these groups, your players are following the best sort of player. So I'll show you once again. We'll set this up in terms of a really good one. So let's have a look. We've got a few driven players here. We're going to look for Kieran Tierney, obviously one of my leading players. He's in there. He's going to be a significant influence on the group. If we get the younger players in once again, someone like Andrew Anderson and another player, let's say we'll just take in Andrew Kerr once again. So these 2 are going to learn from the best, much like the Scott Brown situation here, but Kieran Tierney is exactly the same. Determination 20, leadership 17, teamwork 15. A really good player for everyone to learn from. Do I want my players in those certain positions to learn these traits though? Probably not. So you've got to match them up in their positions as well. It's all a bit complex, but that's the fun of it. So someone like Andrew Kerr, who is a striker, do I want him to knock the ball down the left? No, not really. So I've got to be careful as well in picking the leading personality of the group. So obviously it's good with Kieran Tierney, but at the same time, do I want these players to pick up these sort of traits from Kieran Tierney if they're playing up front? Not really. So get those out of there, and let's add some more players in from the sort of positions that we want. So obviously we've got Kurtz out on this left-hand side, and as you can see there, he's going to now learn from Kieran Tierney, and he might pick up some of his traits as well. He's already got his own, but he might pick up some more. And then we haven't really got anyone else to sort of chuck him in, but we can take in someone like, I don't know, we'll just take in Andrew Kerr once again. He's going to pick up some bad traits, but he will get some good mental ability from it. But I wouldn't advise doing that. So you can just see here the estimated influence on the group. That is what you're aiming for mostly, and then obviously tie it into what you actually want from these players to learn from. So obviously I want left backs and right backs to learn from Kieran Tierney, and centre backs potentially, and midfielders to learn from Scott Brown. So be wary of what you're picking, but mostly these young players when they start out learning, they're going to develop some mental capacity first, and the personalities will change. So that is what I would look for in these players. Okay, so as I play this save on my Twitch stream, I've set this back up again to what I want these players to go into, so you can just sort of see how I want this to turn out. So these two personalities here, low determination and unambitious, I need to sort that out straight away. So we've kept those as they are. Ali Turner, obviously a centre midfielder, which is really good. John Gallagher there, he's not a centre midfielder, he's an attacker, but we need to get rid of that unambitious behaviour. So we're kicking that out. You can see my group 2 here. We've set it up with defenders. So we've got Sean Connolly, who's a centre back. Kevin Ritchie is a right back. We've got them both learning from Kieran Tierney. Same with group 3. Christoph Ayer is a team leader, a driven personality as well. And we've got Jake Cooper and Mark Oliver Kempf, both centre backs, learning from him so they can increase their mental attributes as well. And then group 4, we've got the striker, Erling Haaland, with a driven personality, highly influential player. He's only going to have an average influence on the rest of the group, but as he carries on playing, because obviously he's absolutely smashing it, scoring loads of goals, he will become one of the team leaders of the group. He will have a stronger influence over time, and these young players here, because their personalities aren't as big just yet, and they're not obviously anywhere in the hierarchy, they're going to learn from him right now, and obviously that is what we want, and these are all strikers. So that is what we're going to carry forward in my Twitch save, and that is going to be the end of this mentoring tricks, tips, tutorial, guide, whatever you want to call it, my input on mentoring and how I think you should put it across into your game. So hopefully you've enjoyed this. Maybe you've learned something. If you have, drop your comment in the comment section down below. I've been Cookie6. I will see you next time. Take care.